thank you for joining Read It Again. This is BJ. I am here at Solomon's Pools. This is a little bit south of Bethlehem. I walked here, it's about an hour walk to get to this location. Sorry about the wind. I walked here to get to this location. This is just aqueducts or reservoirs of water that were built by the Ottomans a couple hundred years ago. However, tradition states that there has been water reservoirs of some sort or another all the way back to the time of Solomon, the son of King David. So the classical period of the golden age of Judean history. Anyways, I was tagged by Kristen from Enter the Book. I hope I got that right. I don't have my notes in front of me. But Kristen from Enter the Book for this book tag that I'm going to be doing here. And while it's going, I'm just going to get my face out of the picture so you can actually see what I'm looking at and then talk to you from there. So there we go. Now you are looking at exactly, sorry about the shake. Now you are looking at exactly what I'm looking at. And again, it's a little breezy here, so if the wind is killing my volume, I apologize for that. The joys of doing it outside with my camera and not my cell phone and not my real camera. Didn't want to take that with a walk on me. So anyways, I was tagged by Enter the Book, Kristen from Enter the Book, for this tag. Books I have not yet read. First book, there are 5 prompts for this, and then I'll tag some people at the end. The first prompt is a classic that you have not read. And kind of hard for me because pretty much if it's a classic, odds are I've read it. At least what I would consider a classic. Some of you might consider more modern books classics, but if it's less than 100 years old, I don't consider it a classic yet. But anyways, for this, I chose a romance book. This was written in the 14th century by, and again, I don't have my notes, but I believe it's Guanzhong. I'll put it in the comments below, or I'll put it in the section below. But I believe it was Guanzhong who wrote The Romance of the Three Kingdoms. And this is actually a book about the Warring States period of China. So the end of the 2nd century all the way through to the middle of the 3rd century, the fall of the Han Dynasty. 3 different factions or 3 different kingdoms all rose to power. The Sun and the Cao and the Shu, I believe it are. But anyways, this book I have wanted to read for a really long time now. Back in the day, I had a PlayStation 2, and the greatest game ever created for PlayStation 2 is Dynasty Warriors. If you have not played that ever, I am so sorry. Your life has been stunted. Your childhood has been stunted. But Dynasty Warriors is a PlayStation and also I believe it was Xbox game that is based on this period of time and also based on the book, the historical fiction romance novel called Romance of the Three Kingdoms. So that is my first prompt. The second prompt is a book of fiction that you have not yet read. And for this, I chose, The Secret Witness by Victor Methos. This is a crime mystery thriller, I guess, something along those lines. It follows 2 people. I believe it's Sheriff Elizabeth Gray, and a prosecutor. I don't remember his name, but a guy that was formerly a prosecutor, then something horrible happened in court. He ended his career and now he's basically teaching and trying to stay away from all that. But Sheriff Gray pulls him back in just when I thought I was out. They pulled me back in. But anyways, so Foster, I believe his name is, Foster and Gray, something like that. I'm probably wrong. But Foster and Gray, they are on the track of a copycat serial killer who goes by the name Reaper. So this is a book I got through Amazon Prime. I got Prime free 1-month trial. I got that before I deleted the Prime. So that's my fiction book that I have not yet read. The third prompt is for a nonfiction that I have not yet read. And there are a million books that I could choose for this. Primarily, I enjoy reading nonfiction more than any other. I don't really consider nonfiction a genre. It's really many genres. But for this prompt, I chose Let the Trumpet Sound. Now this is it's a biography about the life of Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. is one of my heroes, and I just love and respect the man and all that he accomplished. I have read a collection of his speeches and his writings, and I have read multiple biographies about Martin Luther King Jr. However, this one is the biography people keep asking me, have you read Let the Trumpet Sound? Have you read this one in particular? This is one that other people that love Martin Luther King say is the best. And so this is one that I really want to get to. I actually got a copy of this from Audible. So instead of reading it, I will be listening to it, hopefully in the near future. So possibly in my July or August wrap-ups, you will be hearing about that book, being able to listen to that. Hopefully it was a very enjoyable read, but Let the Trumpet Sound by Martin Luther King Jr., by Stephen Oates about Martin Luther King Jr. is my prompt for nonfiction that I have not yet read. I'm now down by the third pool, and you can see this is pretty much a dry pool. It's no longer as used as a water source. In fact, I don't think any of them are usable water anymore. However, I'm down here. My next prompt is a book from a genre you don't normally read from. For this, I chose a book from a middle grade genre. Middle grade is not a genre that I read from very often, but I chose the book Mossflower. And Mossflower is by Brian Jacques. It's part of the Redwall series. It's the second book he wrote in that series, but the third one chronologically. So I'm reading them. I want to read those chronologically. I've read about 5 or 6, but this is the next book in the order for reading them chronologically. So this series is it has a feel of Narnia, almost like a more modern version of Narnia. The book was written in 88. If I'm wrong, I will fix that. But I believe the book was written in 1988, and it's a series of small talking animals. And the whole series is really good. It's a classic good versus evil. You know who the bad guys are. You know who the good guys are. There's not this moral ambiguity that appears in a lot of modern fantasy. So it really is a good values-driven series. And the next book in that series that I need to read is Mossflower. So that was that prompt. My final prompt is book that has been the longest on my TBR. And for this, I went to my Goodreads account and I went to I don't really have a TBR really, but I do have a wish list. Probably most of the books on there I will never get to. But one of the books that I really hope to get to and hope to get to soon, right near the longest, I put this on the list about 5 years ago, is Walking in the Dust of Rabbi Jesus by Louis Tverberg, something like that. Anyways, Walking in the Dust of Rabbi Jesus. This book is an examination of the actions and teachings of Jesus rooted in their historical context. And by this, what I basically mean is a lot of times when we're hearing the prodigal son or when we're hearing the story of the Good Samaritan and things like that, we're looking at that story based on what does it mean to me today. But in this book, he really examines what does it mean to Jesus and those that were listening to Jesus. So when they heard it in their first century Jewish context, what were they hearing and how is that different from what we hear today when we are hearing those same stories and those same teachings and those same famous passages. So this is a book that really gets to the heart of what I love. Sorry about the wind. This book gets to the heart of how I want to look at Scripture and how I want to read the Bible. Not just, oh, here's a really good passage, or I have a really great idea. Now I want to find some Scripture to fit that passage. Instead, I want to look at it as in what were the original authors saying to the people around them, and what principles from there can we apply for our lives today. So it's a more biblical, it's a more solidly exegetical look at Scripture and how to read that and to study that. And so this book, I think, I hope, will be a really good 5-star eye-opening book for me, and I encourage you to get that or all of these books yourself. So I'm back and I'm looking right into the sun right now, so I apologize, I cannot see a thing. I hope the shot is good. But anyways, what's a book tag without tagging people? So for this I've chosen 3 booktubers. Now I am pretty new to booktube. I've been doing this for less than 2 months, and I thank you so much for everyone who has welcomed me into the community and given me just open arms feeling of being part of and being included in the community. I thank you so much for that. I have really appreciated all of the new booktubers that I've been starting to follow and starting to get to know. I really do feel like I'm getting to know you guys, and I appreciate that, even though I've only been doing it for a very short period of time. But anyways, the three booktubers that I did choose to tag for this, one of them is, I have to give some love to the only other booktuber that I know in Turkey. So Berna's Bookish Adventures. Berna, I'm tagging you for this tag, or for this prompt. The other two people are two booktubers that I've really come to enjoy their reviews and just watching them have fun with books. One of those is Amanda from Book Lover Amanda, and the other is Chloe, Always Booked. I appreciate all of you guys, and there's others I could have tagged, but if you haven't done this yet and you want to do it, go ahead and consider yourself tagged. Thank you, and have a great day.